All right, gentlemen, I think we've covered enough week 3 talk here. It is time to move on to week 4 picks, and it is a big week. There are 6 different ranked matchups. 6 different ranked matchups. And 3 of them are Pac-12 matchups, by the way. Shout out to the Pac-12, giving us a gem of a season in its final year of existence. So, let's start off in the ACC. Number 4, Florida State is a 2-point favorite going on the road to Death Valley to face Clemson. This is going to be a noon kickoff, and no, Clemson is not ranked. This is not a ranked matchup. It's still a 2-point spread. Florida State coming off a scare last week against BC. Guys, what do you think is going to happen here? This is a big one in the ACC.
FSU both ways. They clearly held back, just trying to stay healthy and, survive versus Boston College, which is fine to do in September. It's not going to ding them clearly. So I like FSU both ways. I just don't think Clemson has the offensive firepower. I hate to lean back on this, but like if LSU wasn't able to keep up with them and got run out of the building, I don't think Clemson's I think this will be a double-digit win for the Noles.
Clemson did seem to figure some things out in their last game, but although not the best of opponents, I will say I'm also going to go with Florida State. I think it's ahead. We all know Boston College was terrible. I think they were just really trying to show nothing against Boston College, and they were trying to beat Boston College with the most vanilla possible play style. So ultimately, I'm taking Florida State both ways. I just think they're a much better team. Yeah, Clemson does look improved and they're at home. That's why it makes me, I think this line is not one I would bet on, honestly, but I'm going to take Florida State.
I think I actually would bet on this game, and I would take Florida State -2. Anything less than a field goal, I actually would feel comfortable taking Florida State. I was slightly surprised when this line came out, but I think Florida State is a bit of a notch better than Clemson, and I know it's on the road in Death Valley, but I still gotta believe it to see it with Clemson. I know it was FAU, but I gotta believe it to see it, man. I think FSU has that gear to turn on like they did against LSU. If I see that team that took the field against LSU, I feel very good about taking Florida State to cover -2, even on the road in Death Valley.
I think the noon component kind of takes the atmosphere out of it too. It's still a hard road venue, but night versus noon, 2 totally different environments, which bodes well for the visitors.
Yeah, I wish this could have been a night game. That would have been pretty cool, but that's all right. Because the TV contracts got to do what they got to do.
That's right. TV, baby.
All about the money.
Speaking of money, both of these teams have a lot of it, but it's not necessarily being spent in the right places. At least for Texas A&M, we'll save Auburn some grace here because it's still yet to be determined with the Hugh Freeze era. But this is an interesting matchup and somewhat of an interesting line, at least to me. Texas A&M is an 8-point favorite at home against Auburn. This is Hugh Freeze re-debut in SEC play. Texas A&M jumping into SEC play after that non-con loss to Miami. This is a low-key kind of a big one for both of these coaches, I feel like. There's a lot of narratives and storylines going into this game. What do you guys think?
This line is absolute bait, and I'm not taking it. A&M is the more talented team, and they're at home. So I'm going to take the Aggies both ways. Auburn, I got questions about the quarterback situation. I just don't think either quarterback, not Pine, sorry. Well, no. I don't think any of their quarterbacks can go toe for toe with Wegman. And Auburn lost a key piece in their secondary with Keontae Scott getting injured. So I think the Aggies win. I think they win it comfortably. And I think more so Hugh Freeze is going to need to kind of keep getting his feet wet before he can remember how SEC play necessarily works. So, yes, I'll take the Aggies both ways.
This is a hard one for me because both teams have 2 dominant wins against much lesser opponents. Texas A&M has 1 game against a somewhat quality opponent in Miami who looks quality as of right now, 2-score loss. It's really hard to evaluate these teams. And then you have Auburn, who narrowly beat California, who looks better than what the market suggests to start the season. I don't. Let me see this. Texas A&M is much more talented. This is going to be a game of attrition. I'd like to know what the over-under is. I'd be very considerate to the under in this game. But I'm going to go with you, Gonzo. I think Texas A&M by 2 scores. Give me Texas A&M both ways.
So, you know what? Look at those spread records at the top of this graphic here. Clearly, one of us has not been doing the hottest with the spread so far, and that's because one of us has been going, for the most part, contrarian against the other two. I feel like that's with me this year. I feel like I always go contrarian with you guys so far this year.
That's your MO. You're like, oh, it contrarian.
Yeah. Well, I'm feeling like going contrarian here, and you know what?
Auburn money line.
I'm thinking about doing it. I think I'm going to do it. Auburn money line. Give me Auburn both ways.
All right. I like it.
I'm sticking with my guns here. I think, yes, A&M did get beat by Miami, but Miami really should have beat them a lot worse than it was. I do like Wegman. He does look improved this year, but I don't know. It's just for some reason I got a feeling about this one. I feel like we saw Auburn go out to Cal and underwhelmed, and we're like, all right, Auburn, you're not like the story that we could have been. You're not that spark. I don't know. I feel like something's going to happen in this one. I think Auburn is going to play well. I think they're going to play up to their opponent, and I'm going to take them to at least cover, but screw it.
Actually, let me change this. We can have 3 different outcomes for all 3 of us just for once in our lives. Give me Auburn on the spread.
Ooh,
we never have 3 different outcomes. I want 3 different outcomes.
Is this the first? Is this the first retroactive spread change in Saturday Scholars podcast history? I think it is. I don't think anybody's ever gone back and changed their pick midway through the segment. I like it. All right, good. We need some diversity here. We got to diversify the portfolio.
That's right.
I don't think we've ever had where all 3 of us have 3 different complete things. Like one has winner and cover, one has the other winner and cover, and one's got the split. I don't think we've ever had that.
No.
Yeah, I'm ready for the hot seat to be turned up to a big flame on Jimbo Fisher. I am ready for that. I am ready for that drama.
I love it.
Give me Auburn money line in Aggieland. All right. How about the Iron Skillet? Speaking of some flames, how about the Iron Skillet? How hot's it going to get this year? Unfortunately, this is going to be the second to last year that these two teams are playing each other because TCU decided they don't want to play SMU anymore after 2024. Yeah, that's a shame, but we still got it for this year. What do you think is going to happen? TCU's at home. They're a 6.5 point favorite.
6.5 point favorite at home, defending national runner up. So it only makes sense that I take SMU both ways. They're the better team. Oh, yeah. No, they're the better team. They're going to come in pissed off, ready to go. Let's go Mustangs, baby.
I like it. So I think this is going to be a really good game. I think it's going to be really close. SMU is a quality team. They have a really good quarterback in Preston Stone, who was a dang near 5-star coming out of high school. So I do like what they have there, but at the same time, TCU is still a very quality team. So where do I lean with this? That's where I have to really think about this because I truly can see either outcome here. But a line of 6.5, I mean, you would think that gives you a lot of wiggle room, but not in a game like this. Things can switch on a dime just with a turnover. So that's where it makes me a little nervous. And because of that, I'm going to err. Well, think about it this way. They're like both home teams because it's in DFW. I know it's played at TCU Stadium, but this is an Iron Skillet for a reason. Much heated and hated rivalry. But because of that, I think TCU is slightly better. I'll pick TCU, but I will take SMU to cover because I think this game is going to come down to the wire.
All right. I'm going to tail Zan here. I like Gonzo's enthusiasm, SMU. The more I look into this team, I look at how Oklahoma has done against their 3 respective opponents, and the one team that played them relatively close up until the fourth quarter was SMU. And then outside of Oklahoma, SMU has really handled their competition. The quarterback play in this one, I mean, you could argue Preston Stone is a pretty good quarterback. You could even argue that they might have the better quarterback than Chandler Morris. Chandler Morris hasn't been the sharpest that, TCU fans would like to see him be. compared to what they got last year from Max Duggan. I'm gonna say that it's a close game. I think SMU definitely has a good shot in this one. I would not be shocked if SMU pulls it off, but I do feel like TCU's they're regrouping from that Colorado loss. That was sort of a smack in the face. Whoa, Colorado's actually good. Holy crap. All right, let's regroup. We still got Big 12 play. You still got everything ahead of you. I'm expecting TCU dub, but I don't feel comfortable with the spread, and I'm going to take SMU to cover. But we'll see. Don't feel comfortable at this one at all, though. But I think it should be a good game and a high-scoring game. All right. Well, speaking of high-scoring games, I feel like there's going to be a good amount of points scored in this one. The line suggests that there's going to be a lot more points scored by one team versus the other, and that team would be the number 10 Oregon Ducks, who are at home in Austin and are a 21-point favorite over number 19 Colorado. Two undefeated teams clashing in the Pac-12 opener. One's going to the Big 12, one's going to the Big 10. They're all going all over the place. Who wins this game and who's covering?
So for me, money line's pretty simple. I think Oregon's going to win this one at home. I mean, they've just been mashing teams, and it's amazing the perception when they're not opening and losing by 40 something to Georgia. Instead, they just play a nice non-con slate and just dominate. As for the spread, this is tough, but I am going to take the tougher angle here, and I think it's a wake-up call for Colorado. I think in the trenches, Oregon's superior, and I think Shoob can get his if he gets time, but I think Oregon sees this hype. I feel like Dan Lanning definitely said some comments, which if we follow the track record, that's going to put him in some trouble because anyone who's talked about Dion, they've lost. But I'm going to stop burying the lead. I think Oregon covers, but I'm not confident in it.
I mean, 21 points is just so much. I'm going to take Oregon. They're at home. I think they're a better team, clearly. Just much more well-balanced. Oregon to win, for sure. But, God, man, I mean, 21 points is really disrespectful. So I could totally see Oregon doing that. But the thing is, Colorado also still has a pretty dang good offense. And so the potential for even a backdoor, say Oregon is up by 24, 27 points or something in the fourth quarter, Colorado could easily backdoor that and get it within that 21. And because 21 is such a wide spread and such a wide disparity, like I can't in all good consciousness take it. So I'm going to go with Colorado.
That is a smart play probably in this one.
Colorado money line. No, I'm kidding.
I knew you were kidding. I know which way you're going with this, Shoob. You're not going Colorado at all. You're going pure Oregon on this one.
Well, I'll say this: that spread is kind of that spread is kind of disrespectful. It is pretty disrespectful, isn't it? 21 points. Well, it's pretty disrespectful, and I'm disrespecting Colorado. Give me Oregon on the spread.
I knew you were going to go Oregon both ways. You've been the biggest Colorado hater this season.
I have been, and listen, I don't want to be that guy, but I got to be that guy. They literally should be 1-2. I mean, they were kind of fortunate to beat TCU. If you replay that game now, I think TCU beats them. Nebraska, I mean, that game was way closer than the final score suggested, and they were extremely lucky to beat Colorado State. I mean, this is like, if there's a God, like God is like making sure Colorado gets off to this start because he wants college football to bring in all these new fans. It's great for the sport, but man, it is very luck driven so far. And yeah, man, whenever there's always these teams that happen every single year.
TCU last year.
There's always these teams that like they thread the needle and we're like, this is going to be the week they lose. This week they lose. And then they play a good team. And what always happens when they go late in the season, they play a good team. It happens every single time. And they got absolutely shellacked. And what has Oregon been doing against Portland State? 81-7. They're not taking their foot off the gas in these games. They beat Hawaii 55-10. 55-10. Oregon's not taking the gas pedal off in these games from what I've seen, and I don't think they're going to do it here. I really don't think they're going to do it here. They have every reason to keep the foot on the gas all four quarters. Give me Oregon. And yeah, I mean, Travis Hunter being out definitely doesn't help at all, but at the same time, it's like Colorado, you played a dogfight against TCU, you were in a dogfight against Nebraska, and then you were in a dogfight chippy overtime against Colorado. This team's got to be bruised and banged up. It already is. Like, it's coming, man. I'm sorry. It's coming for him. It might not. It might be ugly, but
I don't
we'll
know. Is
see.
it coming or do you want it to come? Like, are you
Ah,
praying for it or do you actually think it's going to happen? There could be a distinction here.
yeah. I mean, I will say the hype is great for the sport, but it is starting to get a little annoying. I'm not gonna lie, but
I will say when I
I do
looked
really
at
think this is gonna happen.
when I looked at all the pods that I follow, so Joel Klatt's podcast has just become the Colorado Report. Like everything he
Shocker.
releases has Colorado in it, and I know, but he does it for Fox. I looked at Cover 3 today. What do you know in the title? Colorado, Colorado. Looked at Josh Payton. Hey, Colorado.
Oh,
So
I don't want to imagine. Oh gosh.
yeah, so every single college football podcast you look at, the last 3 episodes have Colorado in the title somewhere. So
You know what Saturday Scholars does? Saturday Scholars puts Colorado State at the very back end of the recap. Like just throws it in there like it's in the notes. That's what we do here. But anyhow, we'll see how it goes. I think we have three-way difference yet again here. We have three different spread and money line picks. Or actually, no,
No,
what am
I
I
think
thinking?
nobody's taking Colorado to win.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, I'm getting a little amped up here. All right. How about another Pac-12 ranked matchup? One's going to the Big 10, one's going to the Big 12. Oh, what do you know? But they're two good teams this year. UCLA, number 22, on the road at Utah, who's number 11. Utah's a 4.5-point favorite. I feel like we've said this like 3 different times now, but I got to ask the question, is Cam Rising playing or not? Like, for God's sake, is the man going to play?
like that's the big thing. Yeah.
Um, this one's tough. These kind of games keep me up at night. So I think Utah win the game. You know, that's a good home environment, even though some UF players didn't think so. So I like Utah to win. But man, I hate the hedge, but I think UCLA keeps it close. I'm splitting. I hate to do it, but I could see UCLA losing by like a field goal on the road, and especially if Cam doesn't play, because if Cam Rising doesn't play, UCLA might mess around and win the game outright. So that's kind of what the UCLA play is here in the event that they just win it outright.
UCLA looks a lot better than I expected this year. Dante Moore is doing pretty good in his playing time. J. Michael Sturdivant looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Their defense looks a little bit better than it has been in years past. The problem here is Utah's at home and they play really well at home. But the other problem is we don't know if Cam Rising is going to be there. So either or outcome here does not surprise me. But the thing is, how much do we trust the Utah backup quarterbacks who have struggled here recently to kind of neck some of these games out? And if UCLA is going to probably up to this point be maybe the most competent opponent they've played. I know Florida looked a little bit better this week, but I mean, on both sides of the ball, UCLA is probably the best opponent they've had thus far. And so I can totally see this happening, but I'm going to go ahead and say Cam Rising is not playing. And without Cam Rising, I think UCLA wins. Give me UCLA.
I love it.
I like it.
Yeah, I mean, UCLA had their number last year when that was played in LA. Two things here. One, what does Chip Kelly always do? He always half-asses non-con, and then he kicks it into gear when we get into conference play. He does that every single year. So you can't really look at UCLA's first 3 games and be like, okay, that's the team. That's going to be the team that goes into Pac-12 play. You almost have to like kind of manually like upgrade them in your mind. Like, okay, this UCLA, whatever I saw from them in non-con, they're going to be a little bit better than that in conference play because that's what Chip Kelly always does. 2, the home factor for Utah is tough, but I think what UCLA has working into its advantage is that they've seen tape on Bryson Barnes and Nate Johnson. Florida didn't get that. Florida didn't know what the hell to expect with Bryson Barnes and Nate Johnson. And Baylor got a little bit of that on tape. Bryson Barnes looked awful against Baylor. I mean, he was dreadful against them. And Nate Johnson, I mean, I think UCLA knows what to expect here. I want to push the Zan button here and say UCLA wins, but I feel like the easy way out here would be to say, I don't know if Cam Rising is playing. I'm going to take Utah to win, UCLA to cover. But I'm not going to do that. Zan, I'm telling you here. Give me the Bruins. I fade UCLA so much on this podcast. I did it so much last year. tired of doubting them and being wrong. I'm finally going to pick them. And then if I'm wrong, then all right, screw it. I'll go back to fading them. But don't upset
UCLA
me
and
here.
USC, the LA schools in general were your yearly fades last year. Now it's Colorado. So
Yeah. But if you were to tell me today Cam Rising is playing, I would pick Utah because of the home factor. But
I would too.
UCLA
If
might
Cam
legitimately
Rising
be a
was
better
playing,
team.
legitimately, I think we should give ourselves that caveat. Granted, like, because we're not going to put money on it. Like,
No.
but if Cam Rising's playing, I'd take Utah.
Yeah. But you got to do what we got to do.
Yeah.
But this should be a fun one. I'm really looking forward to this. All right, let's go out of the Pac-12. Let's head back to the Southeastern Conference. Number 15, Ole Miss on the road at Alabama, who is a 7-point favorite. Jalen Milroe is confirmed the starting quarterback. And if you're a Tide fan, you're thinking, thank God, after what you saw last week.
Seriously.
Not that Milroe is, he's not Bryce Young or Tua Tagovailoa or anything like that, but it's still better than what you got. Guys, what do you feel about this one? This one's very interesting to me.
So I think at least 3 different times I've taken Ole Miss over Bama and been wrong every single time. But I'm willing to risk a fourth. I'm taking the Rebels both ways. Yeah.
I like the way you built that.
Yep. They've won in Tuscaloosa before. I could be wrong, like I was 2 years ago when Bama beat them by like 35. But man, I always love Ole Miss Bama.
This is Gonzo's the fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Fool me 3 times. You're not going to fool me 4 times. Let's go for 4.
I'm a sucker for pain. Yes, I think that Jackson Dart will outdo Jalen Milroe. So, yeah.
So Gonzo,
mm-hmm.
Fool me once, shame on you, or shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on. Oh no, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Messed up the whole spiel. Fool me 3 times. Can't get fooled again, right? I haven't been fooled yet. But I'm with you. Ole Miss winning the game.
Man. I thought I was the only one.
Guys, I can't believe this right now. Hotty toddy. Across the board. This is nuts. See, I thought I was gonna be the one coming up with a nice like catchphrase and be like, yeah, I'm the guy picking Ole Miss. You guys stole my thunder. Man, is this really what it's come down to? Is this really what it's come down to? Look at the screen.
Just so you guys
right
know,
now.
do you have money on Ole Miss -7?
Look at the screen right now. This is just nuts. You know what, Gonzo? I'm with you.
This week is going to be wild on our records. Our records are going to be really weird this week.
I cannot wait for it, but
they're either going to be really good or really bad.
You know what, Gonzo? I agree with you. I'm always that guy that's like, I'm always on the Ole Miss over Alabama. I mean, they nearly had them last year. They were right there. Mm-hmm. They always play them tough. What's the difference this year? Ole Miss has the better quarterback. I watched that Ole Miss Tulane game in its entirety. Yeah. I had to give Ole Miss credit in that game. I think they can do what they want to do. I think Lane can pull this one out. I really do. Like I legitimately, genuinely believe we're not just doing this for clicks. We think Ole Miss legitimately can win.
Did you guys see that Lane Kiffin from his time in Bama? He said, "I noticed there's a change in their play calling and the way that it's called, and now I think this particular person that's at Alabama is now calling plays." So he has knowledge of Alabama. Yeah. I think that also plays like Lane Kiffin literally said that. So he said, I know, but he said we're going to prepare accordingly. So
man, Lane's something else, man. That man that man will even show his card too before he plays his hand. Mm-hmm. That's ridiculous. Well, really quick, this is the main reason for why I really like Ole Miss. Here's the top 5 quarterbacks so far this year in adjusted yards per attempt, passing wise, which is my favorite quarterback metric. Number 5, Sam Hartman. Number 4, Michael Penix Jr. Number 3, Dante Moore. That's why we like that UCLA pick. And who is tied for number 1? Caleb Williams and Sir Jackson Dart at 12.5.
Wow.
Hotty toddy across the board, boys. It's happening this year. Lane is finally going to do it. Add another assistant in the win column over Saban to the board. I'm looking forward for this one for sure. All
I'm
right,
looking forward
boys.
to this next one. This
Yeah,
is the
seriously.
this is the reject bowl, but anything but. These two teams are both really, really good programs with passionate fan bases, but ultimately they are the rejects of the conference. The
This is
reject
really
bowl,
sad.
man. Washington State and Pullman, two great
And
programs,
the fact that
but
they're both ranked and playing each other, and it's like, man, it's just so sad, but it is the reject bowl. You got to call it something like that. What do we got, Gonzo? The Beavers are a 2.5 point favorite in Pullman.
So I'm like, this is one of those where like I'm gonna make the pick and know that I'm probably gonna be wrong. But I'm gonna take the Beavs, and by default it's both ways because of the spread. But I'm riding Oregon State. I mean, I've got a ticket on them to win the conference, and I'm just sticking to my guns. And I said it's about Wisconsin. I would not be remotely surprised if Wazoo won this game. It's just one where I have to pick a side, and I'm rolling with the Beavs.
yeah, I mean, this game is legitimately a coin flip. I think both these teams are very quality. They both have pretty solid quarterbacks. They both have good offenses. Oregon State's got the O line, the running back. They both have good defenses. I think the only place where Washington State falls short is they don't have a Martinez in the backfield the same way that Oregon State does. And I think that's the edge to them. But at the same time, Pullman is a very, very difficult place to play. When I did my interview with the old Beaver man, the Oregon State fan, he mentioned that he's been to Pullman for games before, and it's a very hard place to play. That place gets really loud. It's in the middle of nowhere, kind of like an OSU thing, and they're very passionate. So we'll see. It's a hostile environment for Oregon State, and I hate that I have to pick this. Let me just say this: I would never bet money on this, but for the
Mm-hmm.
sake of showsmanship, we're gonna pick this game, and I don't know. They're both my Cinderellas. They're both my sweethearts, but I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to rock with the Beavs. And it's not
Okay.
confident. And that's just because they've got that extra running back advantage. But man, Washington State and Pullman is going to be tough to beat.
I completely agree. I reiterate just about everything you guys said. And I like what Zan said about both of these teams are his babies. They're everyone's babies. This is like the two Cinderella stories that everyone's rooting for, and they happen to be playing each other. So in my eyes, I don't think nobody can lose in this game. Everybody's a winner in Oregon State versus Washington State. But I will say, quarterbacks, I love them. DJU versus Cam Ward, two underrated quarterbacks on the national scale. I like it. Advantage to me goes to Oregon State, and that's who I'm going to pick to win this game outright. I just like the matchup advantage for them. I like Oregon State's brand of football, and I think against Washington State, they have a matchup advantage. I think they can kind of do what Florida State did against Tennessee and sort of sit on the ball. And I think that Washington State's offensive line, it's still not the greatest, but I trust Oregon State's defense to get it done. And I think that they can hold Cam Ward in check. And I think Oregon State will play bully ball to win this game. But we'll see. If Washington State gets off to an early lead, they might be in good shape here. But I'm going to trust Oregon State. Two great coaches, two underrated quarterbacks, two great teams, two great fan bases, two rejects, unfortunately. But I'll be watching. By the way, is this one on the Pac-12 network? Is this one even on? Is
I
this the
hope
fact that I
not.
even have to ask this question? Is this even on like national TV?
Look,
Oh, it's on Fox. Okay, good. All right. I have faith in humanity. It's on
wouldn't
Fox.
that have been something?
I was
The
about to.
Pac-12 network wouldn't put their best game on there. Let's put like one of
Well,
our ranked matchups and make no one able to watch it.
I mean, yeah, but we saw how those TV contracts went, man. But it's all right. All right. Another ranked matchup. Ohio State versus Notre Dame, a top 10 matchup right there. Ohio State number 6. They're in a 3.5 point favorite going on the road to face Notre Dame, who's number 9. Close spread in this one. Notre Dame's definitely been a lot better than most people would have thought so far. And Ohio State, they looked like they might have got things figured out a little bit against Western Kentucky after that slow start against Indiana. Kyle McCord set in stone as the starter now. Sam Hartman, full steam ahead. I mean, this one's going to be fun.
play like a champion today. I got the Irish. I think being at home is a huge advantage for Notre Dame. I think they avenged last year's loss. I think having a good ground game and Audric Estime who is absolutely killing it, is absolutely underrated. To complement Sam Hartman is huge. And I just think if we're going in terms of quarterback play, oh, give me Hartman all day. All due respect to Kyle McCord, who seems to be figuring it out. But it's, to me, it's just very obvious that there's a significant advantage at the most important position in the game. So the Fighting Irish it is for me.
Fighting Irish, good offensive line, good running back, really good quarterback, home field advantage. Ohio State, emerging quarterback, not fully proven, solid offensive line, not elite. New offensive coordinator, play caller, Ryan Hartline. It's kind of tough, but the wide receivers are the big difference in the two matchups. So you can argue Notre Dame has the run advantage, but they don't really have elite wide receivers like Ohio State does. Marvin Harrison, someone who might be able to go up and just get it over those Notre Dame defenders. Let me just say this. Of the slates, of all the weeks that we have picked so far, this is the week I feel least confident in when it comes to like all my picks, collectively anyway. And I'm inclined to, you know what? I know Notre Dame can sit on the ball, Gonzo, and I know they can run that clock out. In Ohio State, if they can't pass the ball effectively, that spells trouble. But at the same time, Ohio State can potentially score quickly because of their ability to pass like that. So even if Notre Dame wants to play that game, Ohio State can force them to play their brand of football. I'm going to go with Notre Dame. They're at home.
I thought you were going Ohio State there.
Completed.
With that spiel. All right. Well, guys, I got to be contrarian here. I'm not going to let us go Notre Dame across the board. Give me Ohio State to get the dub on the road. My thing with Notre Dame, yes, Sam Hartman has looked phenomenal so far, but who has Notre Dame played up to this point? They've played Navy, NC Central, NC State on the road, granted, solid win, but I don't know if NC State's quite as good as they have been in recent years. And then Central Michigan. Notre Dame hasn't really been tested that badly yet. And Ohio State, I really liked what I saw from them against Western Kentucky. And I hope this doesn't come back to bite me, because looking at how things went in just one game and drawing conclusions is normally a bad idea. But I think Ohio State may be starting to get things going here. I'm going to take them to win. I think that Jim Knowles' defense can get enough stops. And I think that Ohio State can get it done. They still do have the better players, the better roster talent at the end of the day.
You know, I did want to pick Ohio State, but what I did is I saw the line at 3.5. So I said, man, I can't, because I was thinking if I was going to take a spread, I'd want Notre Dame on the spread, but I was thinking I'm not going to hedge on that. That 3.5 hedging there is like extremely frowned upon, allowed, but extremely frowned upon. So I said, screw it. I'm not taking Ohio State. Let's go with Notre Dame.
Good. The hedge bullying tactic works.
Well, yeah. I care more about my spread pick than my straight up pick.
Yeah, I'm going Ohio State to cover that 3.5 for the record. So, all right. A little bit of disagreement here, man. I love our picks so far. This could be a wild week. All right. Another ranked matchup. This time in the Big Ten, number 24, Iowa on the road against number 7, Penn State. The Nittany Lions are a 14.5-point favorite. And this is the whiteout game, correct? It is, right?
Oh man.
It's a night game.
Man, well, if that is the case, it doesn't change my thoughts. I've got Penn State.
It's the whiteout game.
Penn State straight up easily. Give me Iowa to cover though. I think they take Penn State into the mud. And that defense, there's a reason we talk about the voodoo. That defense is good. And I mean, for goodness sakes, Iowa beat Penn State a couple seasons ago, but I just think you give me 2 touchdowns and a hook. Even though the offense ain't there, I think Iowa could find a way to lose the game 17-6.
So Iowa has a good defense. Penn State beat Illinois 30-13 last week, who also has a pretty good defense. Iowa's offense is slightly improved this season, but the big thing here for me is I know it's a whiteout. I know it's a home field advantage, but at the same time, Penn State needed what, 4 or 5 turnovers just to get their 17-point win versus Illinois, who's not really a prolific offense. In Iowa, I would argue has an as good, if not better, defense than Illinois. Um, yeah, I'm with you. Penn State win, Iowa cover. I think 14 and a hook. You're literally going to give me a hook with 2 scores. There's no way I'm not taking that. Give me the bait. Give me Iowa.
You guys are taking the bait. You're taking the cheese on the hook, and you're being reeled up to the surface right now by those Iowa fans and that Iowa offense that
The voodoo,
still isn't
man.
very good. All that
I'm
voodoo.
looking for the voodoo.
I'm not taking
Drew
the bait.
Aller pick 6 to start the game.
I'm looking at that bait in the water, and I'm swimming away. I'm not taking it. Give me Penn State both ways. And I feel like I may have talked you all into this one because I was pretty intently on talking about how badly Illinois looked, and I was salty about not getting that cover. But at the same time, I still was pretty impressed from what I saw from Penn State. And man, it's the whiteout game. You think Iowa on the road in
Yeah,
the whiteout game? I can't put my
yeah,
faith in that.
they've got the voodoo. That's the counter.
I've got the voodoo.
But does the whiteout game voodoo outmatch the Iowa voodoo?
There's no such thing as whiteout game voodoo. Iowa's voodoo was unparalleled, man.
Again, when you
that
can get a pick, I'm sorry, Shoob, I am. But when you can get a pick 6 against Iowa State like every year for the last 8 years, I'm sorry, that's magic.
That is
Like-
magic. That's pure voodoo.
What are you gonna say, Shoob?
that video of the Penn State whiteout game where they were playing
Michigan?
yeah, it was Cade McNamara, right? That was the quarterback.
Was it
In
Cade?
that video, it was Cade McNamara, was it not? It might have been.
Yeah,
Either
thought
way,
that was
I don't know.
I could be wrong. Or it might have been Shea Patterson. I can't remember. But anyways,
oh, I bet it was Shea Patterson.
either way, I just man, I can't take Iowa on the spread. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna go full on Penn State today. I'm putting on my white helmet. So go Nittany Lions. Give me Drew Aller breakout game against a really good defense, but we'll see. All right, last game on the docket here, UCF versus Kansas State. Now, this one, with all these ranked matchups going on, I don't know how many people are going to be paying attention to this one, but it is kind of a big game. It's UCF's Big 12 opener, so that's definitely a big game for that program. First game as a Power 5 team against a Power 5 opponent in conference. It's in Manhattan. Kansas State coming off that grueling loss last week to Missouri. That was a tough game, tough loss for Kansas State. UCF, guys, are they going to be with or without John Reese Plumlee in this
He's
game?
out.
Because this is, yeah, so
He's
that's
out.
a very big deal. And I'm slightly surprised.
He's out for the next few weeks.
Right, as we thought. But when I saw this spread, I was thinking, wait a minute, does that take into account John Reese Plumlee being out? Because I don't know about you guys, but without John Reese Plumlee, the spread seems a little bit off to me. But I'm no sports book. What do you guys think?
So, they said this last week, thought it was an absolute walk with the Missouri game, and then, they get walked off with a 60-yard nuke. UCF has a history of defeating big-time opponents and big-time moments, and that's why I've got Kansas State winning this game by 3 touchdowns. Are you kidding me? I mean, UCF doesn't have their quarterback, and they gotta go into Manhattan, Kansas. Yeah, Kansas State absolutely wins the game, and I absolutely think they will cover less than a touchdown. This should be 16.
Kansas State to win. I'm not with you on 3 touchdowns. I think UCF is still pretty serviceable. With their backup, although they played an inferior opponent, they still did pretty well. They were still able to move the ball and score a lot of points. Kansas State is a bit of a different team, but I think UCF is pretty well coached, and they have enough pieces to keep this game close. But I'm still going to go K-State both ways, although I don't think it's going to be a 3-score game. I think it'll be more like maybe 8 to 10 points. I was also a lot higher in UCF preseason than the market.
If John Reese Plumlee is playing, man, this game really gets interesting because he's a great player. But is Kansas State going to lose 2 games in a row? I feel like.
Is Will Howard healthy?
Well, that's also a good question. So
I know he's going to play, but is he healthy?
that that would make a lot of sense to why this spread is the way that it is, because I feel like there's a lot of uncertainty here. So we're sort of like meeting in the middle on the spread. I'm going to lay the points to Kansas State and take them to win. They're at home. It's going to be a night game. It's going to be a great atmosphere. Yeah, air's out of the balloon a little bit with that loss to Missouri last week. But I really still like Kansas State a lot. I think they're going to bounce back. I think they're still going to finish the year as a ranked team. But UCF at home, man, there's going to be a little bit of juice for this game, I think. And I like the Wildcats to cover there, lay the 6 points. But, you know, if UCF was to win this game, man, whew, man, that'd be a lot to talk about. I'll put it that way. And I'm just going to say, we were all pretty guns a-blazing on Kansas State last week. We were like, yeah, Kansas State, lay the points. We're pretty guns a-blazing on Kansas State again. We're not making the same mistake twice, are we, boys?
Remember, I'm a sucker for pain. I will continually make the same mistake based on principle sometimes. So
yeah, I mean, you're watching a podcast right here that has Ole Miss across the board to go into Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama.
I think we just assured that Alabama and Washington State are going to win.
Yeah, it's going to be a great week. Oh, yes, that too. It's going to be a great week. I think even just going through and picking these games and just going through them, I'm like, holy crap, I cannot wait for this week. It's going to be a really fun one. A lot of high-profile matchups. Gentlemen, thank you guys for picking. Week 4 picks are in the bank. Let's keep going. We're positive so far. Zan is carrying us on the spread especially, but we're still up 5 units and change. So that's doing pretty well. We're on pace like we were last year.
I'm just hoping to go 500 this week on my spreads.
Hey, we kind of know what we're doing a little bit, and so far we're on track as a whole. I can't speak for myself though. All right, you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. That is Zan. That is Gonzo. I am Shoob. This is the Saturday Scholars College Football Podcast. Signing out. See y'all later, and enjoy your college football Saturday.